Hey, what's going on, guys? My name's Eve K. Welcome to the channel, and today I want to talk about Atari and why Atari should focus more on games than they should hardware. Now, this might be obviously controversial for me to say because obviously I do have an investment in Atari. I do have a stake in Atari. I own about 100 shares, but I will say I do feel like, despite my bias, I do feel like Atari needs to go back to what they knew, and that's being software. Now, people will argue, but they made hardware years ago. Yeah, that is true, but they haven't made a system besides the VCS since the late 90s when it was the Atari Jaguar, and the Jaguar is one of the worst selling consoles of all time. So there's that. But to me, I feel like Atari needs to focus on games, and why this is important is because, well, Atari's got some popular IPs like Missile Command, Roller Coaster Tycoon. They've got stuff like Asteroids, Gravatar, Centipede, Yars' Revenge. There's quite a few different IPs they have, but as we know from the last financial report Atari put out, Atari lost about €5 million during that quarter. Now, to me, right, that is due to the downwards of profits and revenue from the VCS and hardware that they were producing, which obviously lost 92% of its revenue. And games was up, NFT and blockchain stuff was up, and so was licensing. Now, to me, personally, as someone who's obviously invested in different companies and looked at different, aspects of different companies to see how they grow, how they perform, and whatnot. To me personally, I feel like Atari is obviously undervalued, but they should be focusing on their game library and making games because that's what will sell them as a brand. Like, I know recently they released Akahara, the new one. Obviously, I haven't picked it up yet because I'm waiting to get paid, but that's an example. Akahara looks like a fun game, looks really cool. That's what they need. They need more games that look fun, look kind of cool, and can attract a new audience. Because the Atari VCS, for example, has, in my opinion, it's got kind of a niche market. $400 console. It's got a bunch. It's basically just only. It's mostly Atari games, and it's basically a microcomputer. It's basically a computer inside that shell. That's great, but there's not really enough games on it to entice a lot of people to pick one up, and obviously it's not as powerful as the systems that are currently on the market. So to me, the VCS seems like it's sort of a red herring. But when it comes to like games, stuff like Combinera, stuff like Atari 50th Anniversary Collection, stuff like Akahara, stuff like Roller Coaster Tycoon, there's so many games that they've got that they could just push. They could just push these games on other platforms, on the VCS and all these other places, and produce more sales, produce more revenue for the company, and they can use it to invest in more games. Now, obviously, Atari doesn't have an in-house studio anymore. Atari CEO Wade Rosen has said on record that he does want to set up one, or he does want to buy one in the future to help expand Atari to be more self-reliant. And to me, that's great. But personally, I feel like Atari needs to focus on making some games that they like. To me, I feel like Atari could be the company with the next Shovel Knight, the next Outbound Ghost. Not with the controversy around that, but it was a pretty fun game. The next company, the next company with a big name game like Cuphead. You never know. But what Atari needs to do is, in my opinion, they need to shift away from stuff like the blockchain and like hardware. Obviously, they should still support the VCS and bring as many games as they can to the VCS, both new and old. But to me, I feel like they need to focus on brand new games that have a new IP, new IPs, new ideas, and that have an appeal to a younger audience. Because to a lot of people who play Atari, they're in their late 40s, early 50s. They're not as young as they used to be, and so they don't have as much time to play games. They're not buying as many games, and that is fine. They're still selling, they're still buying games. But if Atari wants to like sort of win back the audiences and try and become a huge gaming publisher once again, they need to appeal to a younger demographic in some regards. And games like Combinera are a great example of this, where it's a great little indie platformer, but they need more stuff like it, more stuff like Combinera, maybe their own little platformer starring Bentley Bear. Maybe their own, maybe more recharge games. I know Atari's supposed to have 18 games this year coming to the VCS. I believe they're all first party games, from what I know. And I know Atari's only released Akahara so far this year, so that's one. And obviously Caverns of Mars Recharge comes out soon as well. But yeah, those games, they look pretty great. And that's what I think Atari needs to focus on games, because games can sell across multiple systems. Obviously, they're cheaper than hardware. They're cheaper to produce than hardware, and they have a lot more profitability because obviously you can sell them on Switch and Xbox and PlayStation and Steam and Epic Game Store and GOG and your own VCS store. You can do plug and plays with these games. There's a lot more you can do with games than you can do with actual hardware. Especially with hardware, you need to obviously get more developers on board besides your own your own library. So there's that as well. Whilst with games, you can make whatever game you want with whatever funding you want if you can afford it. Now, this is just my opinion, guys. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Do you agree that Atari needs to focus on games? Because to me, that's what's going to make Atari a profitable company again. That's going to make Atari the big name game brand it once was. And all they need to do is just focus on, in my opinion, new games and new franchises that could potentially attract newer audiences to the Atari brand, who check out the Atari Recharge series, buy some of the older Atari games. That's just me. Anyway, guys, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. If you know, make sure you subscribe, like, share, comment, all that good stuff. I've been Eve Kate, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.